Have you ever thought of yourself as the main character of a film? As a filmmaker, I can't help to find myself looking at my surroundings as if it's from a movie set, and that I could film a scene that would look like something from my favorite films. And that's what makes travel feel grand. I live for the moments where I could film memories like movie scenes. So, let me show you how I do it. So today we are in Thailand, and I thought it was the perfect time to show you guys how to get the best travel footage and make your videos look like movies. And I hope that's kind of what the intro was able to achieve. I know we're not shooting multi-million-dollar budget movies, so we're gonna try it with minimal gear, with our saved up travel funds, and rely on natural lighting. What we brought with us was the A7IV because we were taking photos as well, so we needed a good hybrid camera. If you're worried about overheating, I was also worried about overheating on this one because we were going to Thailand and that it was super hot, 35+ degree weather. And surprisingly, this didn't overheat. And the only thing that I've noticed is that it was super hot to touch, and I was concerned that it was just gonna, I don't know, die in the middle of shooting. But I feel like if I was doing long talking heads, like maybe like 20 to 30, 40 minutes under the sun, this would have overheated for sure. But I feel like short bursts like a travel film or short talking head segments, the A7IV really did its job. The lens that we brought was the WIIIIDE 16mm f1.8. This is a newly released lens, and that I was also testing it during my trip. But so far on a full frame, it's super wide, it's awesome on tight spaces, and that you can capture a lot with this lens. I'm going to be doing a full review on this lens, so keep an eye out. I also brought the Sigma 28-70 f2.8, and that's pretty good for photos, and when I needed the range for video as well, that was very useful, and it's super lightweight for travels. In theory, I think if you only brought in one lens, the 16-35mm f2.8 would be the best choice for these kinds of films. You can also rock a 24-70 f2.8 f4 for most of your needs pretty much. If you don't need to go super wide as a 16mm, 24-70 or 28-70 is good enough for a lot of use cases. These are the reason why I got these super awesome smooth shots. Now let's talk about the Weebill 3S, and I think this is the perfected version of the Weebill 3. The Weebill 3S is now modular, so that the bottom part of this is actually a quick release plate for the handle and for the wrist pad. Now it has a built-in vertical mounting system so that you don't need to keep changing your setup. All you have to do is switch it from horizontal mode to vertical mode. It's a bit heavier for travels, but it holds my rig for the FX30, for the A7IV with a heavier lens. But if you actually tear it down, it's super close to the size of the Crane M3S, and that you kind of just have a bigger motor so that you can hold those bigger rigs or cameras with heavier lenses. Now this is the Crane M3S, and this is a tiny powerhouse. It's actually easier to set up and balance because it has a built-in kind of balancing meter so that you can spot which axis needs to be adjusted so that it's perfectly balanced. It's super helpful for beginners, and that it actually helps you balance a heavier rig that is reaching the maximum payload. Believe it or not, this tiny powerhouse can balance your A7IV with the WIIIIDE 16mm, and that you just need to take the eyepiece out from the A7IV so that it clears the tilt axis of this gimbal. So which one to pick? Well, to me, the clear winner is the Weebill 3S because it's a more versatile rig. It might be a little bit heavier, but if I'm changing lenses, if I'm changing setups, the Weebill 3S can handle all of those. But if I'm going minimalistic on my travel gear, I'm going to bring the M3S. And if I'm not changing lenses at all for the A7IV or maybe the FX30, FX3, then I would only bring the M3S. Also, if I'm bringing a lighter setup, the M3S is more than capable of what you need for a gimbal. Let's talk about the settings of the camera, and that's actually super easy to set up. I put the exposure control as the flexible exposure mode so that if I do need to put the aperture on auto, I can easily do so with a click of a button. And then keep your ISO at the base ISO. For this instance, the A7IV has the base ISO of 800, and if I am in low light situations, I'm gonna switch it to 3200 so that my image has the most dynamic range and it's the cleanest coming out of the camera. White balance, I usually stick it to 5600 on during the daytime and then adjust accordingly depending on the low light scene or the indoor scene. And if I do want it to be easier, I put it on auto white balance and let the camera do the work for you. You don't have time to play with the settings while you're traveling and experiencing things, and you want to capture some memories. What about the gimbal settings? Well, everything is on default. I just put it on PF mode, which I think is the pan follow mode, and I just go about it. And if I do need some shots where it needs to be locked off, then I switch modes to locked off position and use the joystick. And that's it. I don't use any other settings. I don't tinker with the gimbal settings. It's all default. I want to thank Storyblocks for making this video possible. You know how time consuming it can be trying to get that perfect shot when traveling? But with Storyblocks' extensive collection of high quality and royalty free travel footage, I was able to save time in the filming and editing process and focus more on exploring. What I love most about Storyblocks is that their subscription gives you unlimited downloads and full access to their entire library. No more worrying about paperclip costs that can quickly add up. As a bonus, Storyblocks has their own Creative Cloud plugin for Adobe Premiere Pro and After Effects. So when I'm compiling all my travel footage together, I can search through their entire library directly in my video editing software and fill any gaps with content from their library. For unlimited access to 1 million stock assets, head over to storyblocks.com/Victor Laforteza. Okay, so tip number 1 is do wide establishing shots, because they are very, very important. It introduces your location and it just gives you a big wow factor in showcasing where you are. And you don't really have to spend as much time on these because they are very quick to do. So it can be a static shot or even like a slow gimbal push. Obviously, if you're a more advanced user of a gimbal, you're gonna have a more dynamic shot. You also have to just film people walking by, and that's completely okay. With people, it kind of just sets up some realism in there that it could be potentially crowded. It'll still look decent unless it's overcrowded. If there are no moving things like swaying trees or cars driving by, people can make your shot a little bit more dynamic. Tip number 2 is to not stress about missing a shot, because what's gonna happen is that you're totally 100% going to miss a shot while you're doing these travel videos. Most likely, you can recreate it without no one ever knowing that you did. You can just go back and film it again instead of getting a rush shot. That's better than to slow down, really compose your shots. Don't try to film it like an event. Film it like you are on a vacation that you want to remember forever. So in terms of lighting, shoot during the morning or late afternoon, as the lighting is a little bit more soft and that the sun is actually angled. So it creates pleasing long shadows, as you can see in the background right here. If you want a hard light, you can shoot during noontime or early afternoon. It just requires a little bit of blocking and a little bit more of creativity in terms of hard lighting, but it's totally doable. In terms of hard lighting, just be careful that you're not overexposing your footage and that you're really saving the highlights instead of the shadows. So another tip for you guys, or kind of just advice, is to experience everything first before you start filming. Now, there's one exception to this, is that if you want to capture your partner's reaction, your friends and family's interaction with each other, feel free to do so, because these are captured memories. You can quickly capture these and that go on with your experience with them and that enjoy the moment with them. The rest of the shots, like B-roll or establishing shots, you can do that afterwards. That way you kind of know what to shoot. You've seen the best parts of the place, and that it's actually more efficient because you know exactly what to shoot afterwards. do some research and plan out your shots. You're only at your destination for a limited time, so you kind of want to figure out the best time to film that location so that you can film it in the really beautiful natural light environment. If you do kind of miss those shots, always plan a backup shot. If you do want to really intentionally create a specific scene for your video. Now, if you do miss a shot, don't stress about it. You're on vacation, you're traveling, and if your sole reason for traveling is to get these shots, feel free to spend a little bit more time. Last but not least is to find unique things about your destination. It might be the culture, it might be the location, it might be the architecture, it might be the people, it might be the food, whatever it is. Find that uniqueness about that location and showcase that in your videos. There's a lot to showcase in different places, and make sure to ingrain yourself in these unique things, because that's what's gonna make a really good video when you and your family, friends, or your partner are enjoying all of these in this unique atmosphere. Okay, hopefully you guys enjoyed that video, and this is just my workflow while I'm traveling. I do try to enjoy a lot of the experience first before shooting. That's why sometimes I'm missing some shots or I'm missing some talking head shots. That's pretty much it. I hope you guys learned something from this video. And as usual, I'm giving away my Sunset Film Lot Pack, and all you have to do to win is comment down below what are your next travel plans, or if you have any travel hacks to share with everyone. If you missed out one of my recent videos, click on this video right here, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
너와 나